Welcome to the very first episode of Gramac Talks. I'm Palsy, a self-published author and student of human behavior. Today I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but is actually deeply personal. Living life to the fullest. Now, when people hear that phrase, they usually think of adventure, success, big milestones. But for many of us, especially those who live with challenges, living fully doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like resilience. Sometimes it looks like choosing gratitude on a hard day. And sometimes it looks like getting up when the world expects you to stay down. One of the points I want to talk about today is called A Fuller Life Starts in the Mind. And living fully doesn't begin with circumstances. It begins with perspective. It begins with an outlook on life. It's learning to see beyond limitations and recognizing that even in difficulty, life still holds beauty. And it's not by pretending that challenges don't exist. It's not by pushing them to the side or throwing them under the rug. But it's by refusing to let them define your story. And that's where gratitude becomes the anchor. And I'm not talking about the fake everything is fine kind. Which I hear a lot of people, when you tell them how they're doing, they say that everything's fine. No, I'm talking about an honest kind of gratitude, a genuine, sincere form of gratitude. And this kind of gratitude that notices the small wins, the quiet progress when no one's watching, including moments of peace, even in the middle of struggle. And I want to say that, sharing your story matters. Something powerful happens when we share our journey honestly. It doesn't have to be perfectly, but just honestly. When people see resilience alongside joy, it creates a connection. When you share your story with others, that gives them either the courage to speak up as well, or a meaning of camaraderie, of connection, of saying, oh, this person has been through something similar. And those bonds grow stronger because of our stories. And of course, it reminds others that they're not alone in their struggle. But here's the balance. Digital platforms can connect, but they can also drain. We live in a world where social media has become, almost everything to someone. And while social media in itself isn't inherently bad, we see people, now being on their phones more like never before. And their real human connection loses touch. And we fail to keep in touch with our loved ones. A great philosopher once said that we are close from those who are far away from us, but we are far from those who are near. Just think about that for a sec. We are close to those who are miles away from us, but we are distant from those who are near, like our parents or our family. And it's gotten to such a point that we as a society cannot live without our phones. And I'm not against, using a cell phone because I get it's useful, but it's taking our freedom of communicating with one another. In school, some of my colleagues don't know how to hold a conversation. And I feel like, sometimes our phones, and now with the advancement of AI, have become smarter than us. I'm not against AI or phones. I actually think it's really helpful. But I think we should use it as a tool instead of being ruled by AI or letting AI think for us. And I use AI to, help me redact scripts, much as this Gramac Talk, but I try to put my own output on this matter and then everything I do. And the next point I want to make is reconnecting with your life. Like I said, sometimes the most powerful reset is stepping away from the scroll. I might sound a little old-fashioned, but spending time outdoors, talking face to face with your neighbor, with your kids, with your friends, and noticing the beauty around us. It can help us clear our minds. It can help us calm our minds from life's busyness. And there's something deeply grounding about experiencing the world as it is, not through a screen. And even small moments can make a huge impact, like taking in sunlight, breathing fresh air. And just having simple conversations can really change your outlook on life. Learning to see the world from other people's point of views. And this reminds us that life isn't happening online. It's happening right now in your home, in your workplace, and at school. And my next point I want to make is living with purpose. What is your life's purpose? And living fully comes through pursuing what gives us meaning. Whether that would be creative work, in my case it would be writing. I love writing books and novels. It might even be serving others, helping a friend, helping a neighbor paint their house. It could be exploring different interests or hobbies. Maybe trying something new that you've never done before. I don't know, you might like it. And purpose gives direction. If your life doesn't have purpose, you'll be lost. So what is your purpose in life? Why are you here on this earth? And purpose doesn't require perfection. No one is perfect. Sometimes we struggle. Sometimes we stumble. But purpose requires willingness. Willingness to get up every morning and to be a little different than we were yesterday. And that obviously brings us to inner strength. And living fully isn't only physical, it's also mental, it's emotional, and it's spiritual. Inner strength is learning how to quiet negative thoughts, how to build resilience, and how to replace doubt with truth. And for many, faith becomes a source of strength. And it's not as an escape, but as a foundation. So what is your foundation? What is your meaning? What do you put your life on? And obviously, the world often measures worth by ability, whether that be athletic ability or work ethic. But a full life isn't built on what the body can do. It's built on who you are as a person. Living fully means rejecting limiting labels and choosing self-respect. Now, I have cerebral palsy, and whenever we go to the doctors, they say that it's a condition that, it luckily doesn't worsen, but that there's nothing that can be humanly done about it. And instead of, getting down by those thoughts. I try to refocus my brain on what I can do, on how I can help others, and how I can contribute to society. Now, you might not have a disability, or if you do, either way, I encourage you to just think for a moment and, just tell yourself what can you do to help others. I've heard a speaker say once, if you don't find a miracle, be a miracle to others. Be a blessing to everyone you meet. And I'm not saying, you should, donate this much, about this much money or this much, material possessions. But I believe that one of the most valuable things we can give is our time. Just being there for that person, listening to them. Our time is more valuable than money, more valuable than gold. So if you don't know what to give someone, give them your time. I'm sure that they'll appreciate that more than anything else. And obviously, we need a community. No one thrives alone. And living fully becomes easier when we encourage each other, when we collaborate, whether that be on a business meeting or, from an influential point of view, collabs, as we call it. Sharing our victories, but also, having a community, having a tribe that supports us through life setbacks, that we can discuss and, learn from one another. Collective strength multiplies individual courage. If you're alone, eventually you're going to fall. But we see that when two are together, they can go back to back and conquer. And of course, a cord of 3 strands isn't easily broken. So I want to encourage you, if you don't have a life group, if you don't have, in that case, a Bible study, to find one. Find a local community where you can not only build yourself up, but also learn from others, encourage each other, share your life, because our life is short and our life is brief. And if we don't share those stories with people, then those stories will ultimately die with us. And so does our memory. I know at the end of the day, living life to the fullest isn't about perfection. It's about embracing the journey with gratitude, with resilience, and with purpose. And sometimes with quiet strength when no one else sees it. And there's a verse that actually has helped me shape how I think about this. And it says, seek first what truly matters and trust that what you need will flow. If this conversation resonated with you and you would like to explore these ideas more deeply, I share more about this memoir, about this journey, in my memoir, Disability, my experience with cerebral palsy. This has been Gramac Talks, and remember, be the light that guides, the courage that explores, and the faith that endures.